Let's turn our hearts to Psalm 31. And we began this last week. David is likely undergoing a real trial later in his life, a coup, a takeover, a hostile takeover. And it's his own son, his oldest son, has betrayed him. And he loves him passionately. But David likely, and we're not certain on that. I think you guys are tracking with me on that. This psalm is clearly written during a time of duress and uncertainty, a time when people were after David, and the details seem to fit best with later in his life when Absalom turned against him. So he says, "In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Bow down thine ear to me. Deliver me speedily. Be thou my strong rock, for an house of defense to save me. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me." Now, this is a new verse for us this week. Pull me out of the net that they have laid privily for me. Pull me out of the net that they have laid privily, privately, secretly. There's conspiracy happening against David. There's backroom conversations. There's an undercurrent of resistance unfolding against him. And he says, pull me out of the net that they have laid. The idea there is interesting to me. Pull me out of the net. It's in essence, he has been caught in the net. This net hasn't fully closed. He hasn't been completely overcome or defeated by it, but he's in the net. He's crying out from the net. "Lord, pull me out of this net that they have laid secretly for me, for thou art my strength." So this is a time when some other group of people, have really come against David secretly. They're opposing him and laying plans and plotting against him. And it's happening out of his presence in ways he can't control. It's out of his hands. Have you ever had that happen to you? I can say it's happened a few times and never egregiously. In other words, the cost was never all that great. But I have had people that were working secretly against me. I've had people that have slandered me privately and tried to spread that slander. That was really years ago. More recently, in some softer ways, there have been just some untruthful things said about me from former friends, people that I love dearly and would love to resume a friendship, but for whatever reason, they've chosen to say things that are just hurtful. I have friends that have gone through this in the secular world, that literally people are plotting and conniving and falsely accusing and drawing up a playbook of how to take them down, how to take them out. We see this happen in the political world all the time. It's a brutal world. And if you have never experienced this, then wow, that's unusual. But there's a good chance that you have. There's a good chance that you have been in a situation, maybe you are right now, maybe that's why God has us right here, where people are working privately against you. And the context here, by the way, is that David's heart is pure. His motives are pure. He is doing God's work. He's God's man. Has he done it perfectly? No, we covered that in the last time. He's not a flawless man, but his heart is whole, and it's aimed towards God, and he wants to do what is right. And he is operating as God's appointed man for this moment, in this time, and in this place. So he's doing the will of God for his life, and yet others are not happy about that, and others want to encroach on that and take advantage, exploit, and destroy him. In other words, there's a diabolical plan being put into motion. And I think it's important to understand, taking this forward to the New Testament, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Our problem is never with people. Now, David is crying out to God for protection and safety and deliverance from the plan, the plot of people against him. They've laid a net secretly, privately. That is such a helpless feeling. When there's plots and plans privately coming against you, and you can't engage, you can't defend, and you can't put it to rest, you can't escape it. That is such a helpless feeling. You can't resolve it. You feel vulnerable. It's a kick in the gut. It seizes you. You chew on it. You think about it at night. It robs your sleep. You work it through. You're anxious over it. You're fearful over it. And this is right where David is. Maybe you're there too. And so what does he do? He writes a song. He writes a prayer to God. Wow, what a great habit to establish. He writes a prayer to God, and he declares, he sets his trust on God. And that's what he says in verse 4. Thou art my strength. He says in verse 1, in thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. So when there are circumstances beyond my control, when injustice is unfolding against me or you, what do? Do we rise up and cry out for justice? Well, what David did was he went to God. And he said, God, I want you to deliver me for your name's sake. I want you to lead me and guide me through the complex situation I'm facing. I want you to pull me out of this net. Lord, overcome the net that they've laid for me. Privately, secretly, you are my strength. When you get kicked in the gut, God is going to remove the dent. Sometimes a picture comes into my mind that I'm just not sure is, but that says it for me, okay? When I get kicked in the gut, God's going to remove the dent. And that's what's happening to David. God, I'm in a net that's been laid secretly, but you are my strength. You are my strength. So let God restore your strength today. We read last night at the night of worship Psalm Isaiah 40. We read the whole chapter. He will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings as eagles. So let God renew your strength. Let God be your strength today. If you are facing overwhelming situations or circumstances, cry out to him. Express audibly, God, you are my strength. Hold him to it, okay? He said he would be. He said he would renew your strength. There's nothing wrong with holding God to his word, okay? He can't forsake his word. It's impossible. His word will never, we read yesterday, his word will never return to him. What does that mean? It'll never come back on him. Like, aha, I got you. Like you didn't come through. It'll never happen. So God is your strength, and he will be your strength today, as he has been all of this journey. Then verse 5, what a powerful prayer. Jesus prayed this, said this from the cross. It was one of the few statements that Jesus said on the cross. Into thine hand I commit my spirit. Now, in Jesus' case, this was death, okay? In David's case, I think it's either way. Whatever the outcome, my spirit is in your hands. My life is in your hands. He says in verse 15 later in the psalm, my times are in thy hand. So, God, I'm yours. My spirit, my soul are yours. My lifetime is yours. Lengthen it, shorten it, whatever you desire. God, I'm yours. Like Mary, behold, the handmaid of the Lord. Powerful prayer, powerful surrender. Into thine hand I commit my spirit. And I think it's a commitment of his life, his breath, his heartbeats. I think it's also a commitment of his spiritual struggle and battle. He's relinquishing to God. Whatever the will of God is, that's what I commit to. That's what David is saying. Into thy hand I commit my spirit. Thou hast redeemed me, O Lord God of truth. God, you know the truth. You are a God of truth. You are absolute. You are absolute truth. So you know the truth. and the truth will prevail. You see the contrast of David dealing with the gossip, the slander, the private, secret conspiracy against him, but anchoring himself in God who knows the truth. God, you know my heart, you know the truth. And you've redeemed me. So David, what is this? David is rehearsing who he is with God, where he stands in God's estimation of things, and where this will all go. I know I'm committed. I'm committing my spirit to God because I know I'm redeemed. I'm redeemed by God, and he's a God of justice and truth and righteousness. He is the absolute final authority. I don't have to answer or account to others. I don't have to fear the plans or the conspiracies of others. I am in God's hand, and I am committing or recommitting my spirit to him. I don't know if that's ministering to you like it ministers to me, even as I'm saying it, but I pray it does. So, my friend, commit your spirit to the Lord today. Commit your spiritual struggle to the Lord today. Commit your spiritual health and your strength to the Lord. You have been redeemed. He knows your heart. He's a God of truth. Go forward with him. Yesterday, I got a text from a young man that I cherish a friendship with, and I've known him since he was a little boy. He's ministering in Arizona, and he texted me and he said, "Hey, Pastor Cary, I think today is your 30th anniversary in the ministry." And I looked at the calendar and went, whoa, June 28th, he's right. 30 years ago yesterday, Dana and I started serving in the ministry full time. This one young man happened to remember that. It was an awesome day in church, but I didn't recall that anniversary until, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock last night. And it hit me that, wow, 30 years walking with God, trying to encourage other people to walk with God. And there's been a lot of ups and downs in those 30 years, but he's been faithful. And so once again today with you, I commit my spirit to him. And I'm trusting that he's redeemed me and that he's the God of truth. And I'm starting year 31. And I pray it'll be a good one. And I pray your day will be a good one and your week will be a good one. I love you. I'm praying for you, church family and friends. Have a great Monday and a great week. We'll see you tomorrow.